Morning, guys. It's Jan, Not a Real Farm. Thought I'd just do a quick little video here before we get to it. I'm working on some other garden beds, and I'm also working over at the back 40 greenhouse, just caging it in a little bit. But just thought I'd take a quick walk through to show you that the greenhouse is growing beautifully. Everything is starting to fill in. You can see where the greenery is now starting to sort of come up over the bins. Right here, we've got our green beans that are just starting to slowly come up over the bin. And what I did was I put a trellis here in the middle of the bed just because I have some climbing beans here. So if you take a look real closely, they're actually climbing all the way up the trellis here. Hopefully my trellis is tall enough. And then here is where I've been taking my lettuce from, but the beets are here. Got some really beautiful beets. I've added some more beans next to the lettuce because the lettuce is almost done. Once it gets too hot in here, the lettuce won't grow and it'll get bitter. So here is the last of the lettuce in this bed. More green beans, some onions, and this here is Swiss chard. Around to the other bed here, our strawberries are growing fantastic. Just really starting to put on some weight. Take a look here. You can see that they're starting to get bigger. Guys, I do have a couple of crickets in here still, but as long as I can keep that population under control, I'm happy. Some more strawberries. So these guys are doing wonderful. Of course, the garlic over here is doing amazing just for cut greens. And then these onions over here, I've been cutting these. You've seen them on some of my videos. Those are, they just came back from last year. I haven't planted any onions in this bed. These are just sort of volunteers that have come back. So I've let them. Why not? And then over here, here is my horseradish. It is growing amazing. Actually, it's really big. And when you get over this far, actually what happens is it smells like horseradish. It's awesome. Here are my kidney beans. So I put some poles in here so that they can climb up. They've already sort of started climbing up right to the top of this one. It stops right here. So they are, they're just doing amazing in here. So this whole row in here is kidney beans. I put one lonely zucchini in here, and then I'm going to be pulling the mature radishes that I've got. They just did fantastic in here. These guys are ready to go, so they're going to be pulled out of here today. And I think I said on one of my videos that these were cayennes. These are purple jalapenos. I have cayennes on the brain, but these are purple jalapenos. And they are just loving the heat, of course, now that it's turned up in here and we're having sunny weather for once. More beans. We're going to be doing some pickling of beans this year too. And right here, this is actually a spaghetti squash. So what I did was I elevated him off of the ground and he started to bloom, and I'm just going to let him sort of trail down onto the floor. It's not going to be anybody really in this greenhouse this year but me, so. Aren't those flowers pretty? I just like looking at the flowers. Now, the pollinators have started to come out. We did hang the bees up, and I have a quick video of the bees. But so here, you can see here, we've already got a female plant. We've got a couple of female plants here. There we go. A female plant, and then we've got the male plants. So really, I should probably hand pollinate that just to make sure that we get that going. Nothing is out at the moment, but it's not cold, guys. It's actually hot in here. I'm going to have to run the fans today. This guy here was pollinated. And then over towards here is my broccoli. So this is my sprouting broccoli plants. I wasn't anticipating them getting this big in here, but boy, did they ever. Big, beautiful plants. And I love the fact that this year I manipulated the season a little bit with them and planted them way early than what I normally would. And what that's done is it's actually allowed me to make sure that it misses, pretty much will miss a lot of bug damage because I planted them a little bit early. So it's started to do its thing. So I'm just waiting for some of the sprouting to start happening. Got another one down here. These guys I've temporarily planted here. This is a watermelon plant. There's 3 of them actually. So we'll be moving those around. Then that way we can have, now these are extra large watermelons. I'm gonna be freeze drying watermelons this year and putting it away and then doing watermelon juice. So we made sure that we got some pretty good watermelon size there. These are mini cabbages. So these guys here only take 50 days to grow, so they're not very big. They're only the size of a baseball. But that allows me to, harvest them, take them in and make mini little, pickle them, do whatever I need to do with them. Even little batches of sauerkraut are good. This is our romaine lettuce. So it's just starting to bring up the leaves. It's going to start to bunch. More beans in this bed. Look at the beans. Beans and lettuce. So these guys over here are a butter crunch. And here, next to my cabbage, is my Mexican huckleberry plant. Now that is going to get taller than the cabbage. It's going to get a little bit, probably about this high off the ground. So, like I said before, these are not like our regular garden huckleberries. These are really sweet, almost blueberry-like. So we'll be making jam out of that. And up here on my shelving, we've got sweet peppers. Cucumbers, small, so just pickling ones. Then we've got regular size cucumbers. I planted backups to my backups in case something happens with the weather or they get eaten. Now I still have the diatomaceous earth down, and it does work. And I just reapplied another amount yesterday. So compared to what the cricket population was in here, whatever that was a week and a half ago, this stuff actually really works. So here's some peppers that I've got planted. The peas are all now starting to climb the netting that I have in the back, so they're getting pretty tall. And then here we have our purple beans. So these are just going to be a bush bean. We have fava beans over here. These guys are sort of doing their own thing. I probably should push these guys up, but they've decided that they want to sort of grow down into the soil and up, which is funny. We've got tons of cherry tomatoes in here. We've got paste tomatoes. So we've got Amish tomatoes for the paste. We've got Heinz paste tomatoes. We've got speckled Roma tomatoes. We have it all in here, guys. We're going to be doing a lot of canning this year. These are cayenne peppers, for sure, this time, right? There's my label. So you've got some cayenne peppers. These guys over here are a miniature sweet bell. So they only grow about this big. They don't get any bigger, so they're a snacking pepper. I believe probably in the store you'll probably see them called lunchbox peppers. Celebrities, cherries. And in between all of that, because they grow a little bit slower, I've put in some new blackberry plants so you can see how good the blackberry plants are doing. These are new ones that I've just planted, so they're not necessarily going to get that tall this year. Okay, and then over here, I've sprinkled the diatomaceous earth on the soy because for whatever reason, the crickets like to hang out in this corner. But this is a soybean, so we're going to be eating some of that green, and I'm going to be saving some of the seed from it as well. And then, lots of things growing in here. So in the cups, what you're going to see here, this one is called a red ruby cherry. So they call it a red ruby cherry because that's just it. It looks like a red ruby. The skin is almost like a jewel, so we've started growing that. Lots of big red peppers that I have left to plant. And then this cherry tomato here is called Pink Perfection. So Pink Perfection is almost kind of like a neon cherry. Some of these, first of all, let me say thank you to Experimental Farm Network. Some of these seeds have come from them. A lot of them have been seeds that are bred organically and made to basically be non-GMO, so you're able to save the seed. So that's what we'll be doing. This is my sweetie tomatoes, blackberries, cucumbers. This is a black Roma paste. I do have black cherry tomatoes as well that we're growing this year. A midnight black, which I thought was really cool. More cucumbers, and then we've got the blackberry in the corner there, and I threw in some potatoes in here just to see how fast I could get them to grow in this corner, but this guy's popped up, and so has this one. So I'm just going to be harvesting them as new potatoes. I won't be taking up this corner for the rest of the season. So as you can tell, guys, I still have a ton of room that I can still plant things. Let's go on over to the other side here. So in this side here, just at the front of the greenhouse, we've got this guy here is a indigo rose. I had to look at that, I forgot. A new blackberry. This is salad turnip, so you just pull them out. They're basically the size of a golf ball, so they're not going to get very big. Pak choy, that's going to be pulled out. We're going to be doing probably a stir fry with it. You can see that, some of it's started to go to flower, so we're just going to take it out. It's ready to come out. The blackberries are not dead. I have confirmed they're not dead. Here's the new buds. They're starting to be a little bit more prominent now that the heat is turned up. So I just have to be a little patient with them and see how long they take. So I've grown my soup peas. I've used them. I've just grown the soup peas basically right up around the blackberry, taking advantage of how tall the blackberries have gotten. And these soup peas are just basically, we can use them now when we dry them out for awesome pea soup, or we can just save the seed. This is a white cherry tomato. We have some lettuce. This will be the last lettuce pickings in the greenhouse here because it's getting too hot. Blackberry. Just get past my radio here. Blackberry. Cucumbers. We've got some spinach. Spinach is not liking the heat in here this year, so I'm going to take some of that and probably plant it outside. And, we've got a couple of pole beans and things like that we tossed in the back, and some blueberries on the brain. And we've got some blackberries. But speaking of blueberries, now that I remember, we've actually added some new boxes in the greenhouse. I'm just going to turn around. So the new boxes that my husband actually added in for me this week. Aren't these boxes awesome? He's gotten 4 of these for me. He bought these end of season last year and kind of hid them from me. So they became my surprise this week. So basically all I've done is I filled them with dirt, and at the top we've got blueberries, just the small blueberries. And then I've decided to do some peppers just in the top here, but then start my medicinal herbal garden here. I've started it in here as well. I just haven't finished it. So in between everything, he constructed this for me and filled it with dirt. And so I'm going to leave it as 2 boxes this year. But I think I will be adding a couple more of these because they're so handy. They actually give me a little bit more space to move out rather than having another big bed. I really like the herbal garden aspect of it. So I put blueberries in the top of this as well. And then, of course, I still have all of this over here to plant. So these will be going outside, a lot of this stuff. So I just kind of wanted to give a quick little tour of what's sort of happening here in the greenhouse. Everything is growing fantastic. Outside, everything is growing fantastic. Now that the weather has changed and everything isn't drowning. So I just wanted to share that with you this morning, guys. And yes, the floor is dry. You should have seen how much water we pumped. It was just crazy. But everything's going great, guys. I just wanted to share with my Not a Real Farm family. Thanks so much for everybody for hanging on and going through these adventures with me. See you soon.